15th, 2016 Plan Commission meeting to order. The first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Please have roll call.
Roger Brock.
Here.
Dean Button.
Here.
Nathaniel Harris.
Here.
Ann Herbert. William Hutton.
Here.
Juan Moreno.
Here.
Kim White. Here. Thomas White.
Here. And do we have any old business? Looking at the wrong. We need to have approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes for the July 19, 2016 meeting.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. And any old business?
There is no old business.
Okay. New business is CP-16-06, petition of Calumet College of St. Joseph, Inc. for approval of a two-lot subdivision located at 2500 New York Avenue, which is zoned C4 within the city of Hammond, Lake County, Indiana. Have the notifications been satisfied?
Yes, they have.
Thank you. And if you could please give us your name, address, and sign in if you haven't, please.
Good evening. My name is Torrey Prasco. I'm an attorney with Burke Costanza and Carberry. I represent Calumet College, and Calumet College is hoping to build student housing at that location, not only to enhance the college campus, but to increase enrollment. The city has made that land available, but not all of the land. The city's going to retain part of it. So as a result, we have a signed contract with the Hammond Redevelopment Commission to purchase the land, but it must be subdivided into two lots before the real estate conveyance can take place. So our application is for a two-lot subdivision at that location. With me tonight, I have Dan Lowry, who's the president of Calumet College, and also Mike Duffy, who's a civil engineer with DLZ, that has been working with Brian and his department to satisfy the subdivision ordinance. So our application has been submitted. We believe it complies with all parts of the city subdivision ordinance. Proper notice has been given, although I have a few more, so I'll hand those to. Those were received Friday and then today after we submitted them last week to Brian. So I'd like to introduce Dan Lowry, president of Calumet College.
And if you haven't signed in, Dan, please do so.
Will do. Good evening. We're delighted to be here. My real purpose of being here is to say thank you to the City of Hammond for being so helpful on this project. We think it fits real well with the city's plans for that end of the city, and we think it's very complementary. And I just wanted to very briefly just emphasize some of the partnerships we've had with the city, particularly with the College Bound program. As of the last few years, if a student qualifies under College Bound, they come to Calumet College of St. Joseph, we waive the rest of the tuition. That's an additional $6,000 scholarship, and we have many Hammond students who are now attending school with us. The other benefit for the folks of Hammond, I think, is our zero EFC policy. For those of you who've had children in college, you know that zero EFC stands for expected family contribution. And for really poor students, it's called a zero EFC. Their parents can't contribute anything. For our students from Hammond who come to Calumet College of St. Joseph, if they're zero EFC, Yes, they get their state aid, they get their federal aid. We waive the rest of the tuition. They attend tuition-free at Calumet College of St. Joseph. That's part of our commitment to our urban communities, particularly to the city of Hammond. And the third way I think we participate is with the largest transition to teaching program in the state. We have many, many, many teachers in the city of Hammond, which has difficulty recruiting teachers, that we've trained at Calumet College of St. Joseph, and we steer them toward the city of Hammond. It's, again, part of the partnerships we've had with the city of Hammond. So I'm thankful to the city for all the departments of the city have played a role in that. Brian has certainly played a significant part, as has Attorney Westphal, and we are most grateful. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from commissioners?
Mr. President,
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure we state for the record that the Hammond Redevelopment Commission is the owner of the property, and with the agreement that Calumet College has with the HRC, they are acting as petitioner on behalf of the Redevelopment Commission. And then secondly, in your packet for, as an exhibit, you have the information on the site plan and the design of the building. And it's there just as an example. You're not approving the site plan and the building design tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Brian. No questions from any board members? Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Anything to add? And if you haven't signed in, please do so. If you would state your name and address.
Sure. Michael Duffy from DLZ, 900 Ridge Road, Sweet Elk, Munster, Indiana. Just a couple of items of note. We worked with city planner and the city engineer on the extension of 125th Street for the future to go through. So this right-of-way would actually be placed on here right now. It's not intended to be built at this point. Sometime in the future when the city decides to expand that road, that's already been placed in there. This is a re-subdivision basically of an existing lot, so there were some carryover easements that we had to verify that there were currently utilities in, which are reflected on the plat. AT&T still has facilities along the east side, and then there's some sewer down on the south side. Other than that, we noted the appropriate setbacks for C4, and we fall well within it with our conceptual site plan at this point.
Okay. Thank you. Again, any questions from any of the board members? Hearing none, we will open the meeting up for the public hearing portion. Any members of the public who would like to have any comments, if you'd please come forward and state your name and address. Also put that in writing. You can do so at this time.
Hi, my name is Carol Chesser, and I live at 1506 125th Street, right across from the turnaround on that property.
And could you spell your last name for the record?
Chesser, Tinsley, Tinsley. Now, you mentioned that part of the property was going to be still owned by the city. Which part? What area of that?
At this time,
With-
we're taking your questions, and then we'll go back through and answer it.
Yes, any and all questions, just go ahead and proceed.
Okay.
And then when you're done, the petitioner will answer your questions.
And my second question is, being that's going to be, I guess, owned by Calumet College, who's going to police it? Like, I know that Calumet College, Purdue Cal has their own police force. Who's going to police Calumet College? Thank you.
Thank you. Let her finish writing in.
evening. My name is Jennifer Liddell, Liddell. My only concern is that this is a residential area, and we know how college students can be. And along with her, the policing area, initially they had something on the forum about building a hospital in that area at one time. And the most indicative concern was policing, ambulatory, and the sirens in the area, plus the parking, stuff of that nature. So my question is pretty much the same about the security of the residents, their vehicles, their children, smaller children that are in the area. So that's pretty much all I had.
Okay, thank you. Any other members of the public who may have a question? You can step forward, and if you would state your name and address, but when you're finished, please sign in.
Sure. My name is Maria Rios, and I reside at 2444 Birch Avenue. RIOS is the last name. And with Ms. Liddell as well, my concern is we're actually right across from them, a block over to the east of them. And what we're concerned is as you bring this, this building starts to be developed, we're concerned about you know, the garbage, will there be garbage pickup consistently, you know, as far as making sure that you guys have a cleaning crew, make sure that there's no road blockage, make sure that once this housing is built for these students, which is, that's fine and whatnot, but you know, it's a small area there. We have limited parking. Are we gonna have, make sure that we have parking available only to us, the residents, whereas the college students won't come and take our parking spots? Because, you know, like I said, it's a growing location now. You've got a lot of families moving in. Also, well, we have water shortages as you guys are building these housing. You know, the electricity, the gas, all of these things that, you know, we use on a daily basis, we want to make sure that there's no type of interruption. There's no type of interruption as far as traffic. You know, we have children there. Make sure that, you know, that there's people out there making sure when these trucks come in with their materials and so on and so forth, that you have people to make sure that, you know, all that traffic is controlled as well. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Diane Madura, Madura, and I live at 2415 New York Avenue, directly across from the school. Right now, all the traffic that goes into the school, cars, trucks, garbage pickup, they all pass right in front of my house. There's a lot of trash being thrown out. We've had several of our vehicles being hit, the rear view mirror being knocked off. There's only one way into the college. Are they ever going to open up something from Calumet Avenue or let people come in from the other side of New York Avenue? Trash is another problem. We have a lot of trash on the streets. Anything else? No, I think that's it.
Thank you. You sure? And there you go. You're doing it. Any other members of the public? Please come forward.
Frank Madura. I live at 2415 New York Avenue. And my question is the sewer system with, I don't know how many students are expected to be living in the dorms, but I wonder if the city has allowed or is going to be able to accommodate the increase in the sewer system, especially when we get heavy rains like we're having today. And we've had problems flooding before, so this is a concern of mine. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'll please sign in. Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Maria Lopez. My address is 2543 New York Avenue. My concern about building the student housing across the street is security for the families. If there is some way to make sure that the residents of New York Avenue, Birch, and those that are impacted by the housing, that you consider our security, whether you have to gate that small housing community to make sure that that there is entry that does not disturb the residents on our strip in our neighborhood. That would be great if you could consider that. But otherwise, if the families on New York Avenue and Birch and those that are impacted, if they're going to be impacted in terms of having high volume noise, disturbances, trash, and disregard for residential property, then I would have to say I'm deeply concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else have any questions? Please come forward, state your name and address, and when you're done, if you'll please write your name and address.
Pam Shelton, 2441 New York Avenue. Has there been any talk about the mayor reopening the roadway by the golf course where it goes from Calumet, so we wouldn't have all the traffic on New York? And let from the college go, I think it's still called 125th Street, I'm not sure. Used to be open and then he closed it because of the golf course, but that would alleviate a lot of the traffic that's coming now. And then I heard somebody right when I walked in about the flooding. That was another problem because finally after he built the pumping station, things have been going well, and we add that much more sewage and everything into the system. I mean, I'm afraid here we go again. And then I know they said when I went to the meeting when they had at Calumet College that like the students would have stickers and everything, because we have, so everybody has so many cars now that we have people from the college that do park there now. They say they don't, but they do. And that's like another problem. Okay,
Thank you. Anyone else?
That street she was talking about was 125th. Okay, that's what I thought.
Anyone else for the public expression portion of the program? If not, we're going to close the public expression portion, and we'll have the petitioner or petitioners come forward and try and address all of the various questions that were raised.
Mr. President,
Yes,
there's a couple of questions that I'd like to answer just more from a technical standpoint.
feel free.
Okay. Just for everybody's understanding, the property is on the west side of New York, College Boulevard on the north, Gaspar on the west. The southern boundary corresponds roughly around, I guess it would be 125th Place if that was the street. Almost up where 126th would have come through. The property's going to be divided into two lots. If you kind of picture where 125th Street is right now, between New York and Gaspar, what the subdivision is creating is the dedicated right-of-way. And what would happen is that we would construct a street that would connect both the east side of New York and to the west side of Gaspar. And that would provide access to Polyjohn, which is still at the back side of that property. And anybody else can correct my answer to the next question I'm going to give, but to my knowledge, the mayor has not discussed opening up 125th Street from Calumet Avenue. If you are familiar with how the golf course is laid out, part of the golf course falls into that former right-of-way, so that street is probably won't be, it's not expected to be opened or reopened. The portion that is going to be south of where it is 125th Street is the property that the Hammond Redevelopment Commission will retain ownership. At this time, plans for that have not been determined. As far as the other questions, anybody else can try to address them.
Thank you, Brian. Please proceed.
So I'll answer a couple of questions, and then Michael will answer one of the questions, and Dan will answer one of the questions. Someone asked about a reference to a hospital. The only thing I can...
Excuse me, you might want to, for the benefit of people that came in late, just identify yourself.
I'm Torrey Carrasco. I'm an attorney with Burke Costanza and Carberry, and I represent Calumet College. There's a reference, someone asked about a reference to a hospital, and the only thing I can imagine what that is the current legal description is Lot 1 in Hammond Community Hospital addition to the city of Hammond. I'm not sure when that was subdivided into that lot, but I think the previous owner was considering building a hospital there. That was years ago. That is not Calumet College's intention to build a hospital there. In fact, when the subdivision is approved, the legal description name will change, so it won't even have a hospital name in it. As far as parking, the site plan we've been shown, and it's not final, but there will be a lot of parking there. Michael actually might know the exact number of spots, but there will be significantly more parking near on the west side of the student housing, and there'll be a very large green area. I don't know exactly the length, but the building, the two buildings, or the building that is planned for right now is towards the western edge of the property. Not all the way to the western edge, because there's parking there, but there'll be quite a bit of green space between that building and New York Avenue. I'm going to ask Dan Lowry, president of Calumet College, to come up just to talk about security and policing the property and being a good neighbor.
Hello, I'm Dan Lowry, president of the college, and let me address the security issue first. To a certain extent, it's kind of a moot point, because we have 125 students living in the immediate area right now, and they're living there under unsupervised conditions. And we want to get them out of there to a place where they're in supervised conditions. When they're in the dorm, there's going to be 4 individuals there who will be responsible. I think of them as the canary in the mine shaft. We have a dorm director who's permanently there, and we have 3 residence assistants, 1 on each floor, and that's for 96 students, which we think gives us good 24/7 coverage. That's something we don't have in the community where they're living in the community right now. Additionally, we have security during part of the day. All of our planning for this process is locked in to have 24/7 security at the college. So we will not only have the dorm director and 3 residence assistants, but 24/7 security as well. I wouldn't try to convince anyone that college students don't sometimes get in trouble. That may have been true for even some of the people in this room. It happens from time to time. The way it works now is when people in the community have difficulty with a student because they're having a party or because of parking or other issues, folks in the community tend to call me, and we address those issues immediately. We address it either through their coaches, through their instructors, we do one-on-one, and sometimes it takes multiple interventions, but we're very responsive in addressing student issues, student problems who may develop. So I think we're actually going to see a better situation from a security perspective. Again, the dorm has 96 students. At another point, we'll build another dorm with 96 students. That would be the maximum. With respect to parking, there is significant parking behind the building that is going to accommodate all of these students. Our parking is actually going to increase. And I would members-only parking along that street. And that would help keep our students off those residents. We try to be good neighbors, and if that would be helpful to our neighbors, we'd be perfectly agreeable to that, because our students are going to have more than enough parking with the parking we're going to provide. I understand the congestion of coming in. It is just one entrance right now. As Brian indicated, eventually there's going to be a second entrance on 125th, and we've also developed a master plan that provides one access to the back of the building on the north end of our building. So we hope to eventually evolve to 3 entrances, which should cause some of the egress, ingress type of problems that you have with parking there. I would also say in terms of sewers, we're very sensitive to that. That's an engineering question, so I'll leave it to our engineers. But I would point out that we have upwards of 700 people there during the daytime using the sewer system, and at night we're only going to have 96. So we think that system could handle that capacity. It's not like we're adding on top of the capacity that's already there during the day. So I hope that addresses some of the issues, and I think those are the ones that I had identified.
Michael Duffy, civil engineer for DLZ. I think one other important thing that to note here is that we have to go through the full site plan review with the different departments as far as our capacities. We're currently working with the engineering department and the sanitary district on where we're going to tie in sanitary, work with Brian on the parking to meet ordinance requirements, which I believe is 75 additional parking spots for these 96.
Per building.
Per building, and we're only doing the one building right now. We've met that, and plus we have a auxiliary parking lot back there that will not be redeveloped as part of this project, but it is existing currently. All the stormwater will be collected as it was before, and there's a significant reduction in the overall footprint of impervious surface that we're putting on this property, which will definitely assist in any water runoff that anybody's concerned about. Utilities, we will work with each individual private utility as well to verify capacity and where the points of connection will be, because neither the city nor the private utilities want to create an issue with existing customers.
Thank you. We'll close this portion of the public hearing period and open it up to questions to the commissioners. Any additional questions?
I would like to just make a comment regarding
Certainly, Dean.
the storm sewers and the sanitary sewers. I would echo what Mr. Duffy has said tonight. I also sit on the sanitary board, and there is sewer separation in the Robertsdale area that separates the sanitary sewer from the storm sewer. So there's capacity to handle the increased loads and flows from the facility. We'll get some more details as we get further into this, but I'm confident that the area can collect the sewer, both storm and sanitary, and we can treat that through our existing works.
And for the benefit of the public, the commissioner speaking also acts as our city engineer, so he's knowledgeable. And I guess I should ask staff to present their reports.
For clarity purposes, what is before tonight at the Plan Commission is the subdivision of the property. All of our questions about the site plan, sewer capacity, all those things, those are extremely important, and the city is very concerned that we're going to make sure that all of that is handled appropriately and does not cause any adverse effects in the neighborhood. So this is more of a technical review by the Plan Commission for the creation of the subdivision of the plat. And just to state for the record that the property is zone C4 currently. That is not, we're not contemplating a rezoning at this time. There have been discussions of rezoning that in the future. The two lots that we've created, one is 5.611 acres, the other is 1.962 acres. In the plat process, we're assigning new addresses to the lots. We have also assigned addresses for the buildings. We've already talked about that a new segment of 125th Street is going to be dedicated as a part of this plat. It is a 60-foot right-of-way, which corresponds to the right-of-way width in the adjacent streets. It was also noted previously that there were existing utility easements on the plat. Those are being brought forward, and some additional easements are also being created, in particular on the southern lot, which is being retained by the redevelopment commission. We've already discussed that the main purpose of the subdivision is that this is to ultimately transfer the Lot 1 to the Calumet College for the purposes of the construction of the dorms. Under staff recommendations, staff has received responses from the utilities and the review agencies. Concerns from the city engineer have been discussed and resolved to the extent possible, and that was in relationship to the right-of-way. No other objections were received. Therefore, the staff recommends that the Plan Commission grant preliminary and final approval. And I just apologize for not correcting my staff report completely when you type over something, but approval to the Gaspar Gardens addition to the city of Hammond. If the Plan Commission agrees with the recommendation, the staff requests that this report be adopted as preliminary findings of fact.
Any questions from the board regarding the staff report and/or recommendations? Any questions regarding the report or the recommendations from staff? If not, we could entertain a motion for preliminary approval.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the staff's report, to adopt that by the Plan Commission, and make that preliminary recommendation as a finding of fact, if I've said that correctly.
Sounds.
So the motion is for,
To accept the staff report as a finding of fact.
okay, but the first part of it was to grant preliminary and secondary, preliminary and final plat approval.
You need that first? Okay, okay, thank you. I'd like to make a recommendation to accept the plat, both preliminary and final plat approval at this time.
We have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
Nathaniel Harris,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Juan Moreno,
Yes.
Kim White. Yes. Thomas White.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion carried.
Now we'd like to accept the staff's recommendation as a preliminary finding of fact.
And
So moved.
could we have a second, please?
Second.
And a roll call vote, please.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
Nathaniel Harris,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Juan Moreno,
Yes.
Kim White. Yes.
Yes.
Thomas White.
Yes.
7 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion carried.
Thank you. That'll take care of CP-16-06. Moving on to the agenda, do we have any correspondence, Brian?
No correspondence.
Do we have any commissioners' comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would just like to make a comment that I would like to send my appreciation to Councilman Opinker, or former Councilman Opinker, who was part of the Plan Commission, that his service to this commission was very much appreciated, and his tireless efforts to help the city move forward was grand, and we just appreciate his effort.
Thank you very much. I think we all feel that way. Staff comments?
And I appreciate the fact that Mr. Button did make that comment about Mr. Opinker. That was going to be one of my comments. We also have not heard from the council who they are going to appoint in his place. As far as, please keep on your calendar the date of September 19th. We will have at least, we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 items on that agenda. If you are going to be out of town, please let us know as soon as you can.
That's it for the staff comments? Public comments? Please come forward. And if you'll just state your name again.
Carol Chester Tinsley. Do we know how this is going to impact property values in our area?
Generally speaking, you know, we feel that anytime there's new construction in an area, that helps stabilize and increase the property values of the general area as opposed to having a vacant lot or deteriorated properties. As far as anything beyond that, no, we haven't done an extensive analysis.
When will there be a rendering for us to see?
We have a preliminary, and I don't know if you guys want to share with them after the meeting. That would
Petitioners would share that with you after the meeting. I might add one personal note. I live by Purdue Calumet, and a number of years ago they added housing. I haven't noticed any impact on values.
From the petitioner, do we know when we would expect to see preliminary site plan approval requests, or which would include the building itself? Do you have a schedule for that?
We're wrapping up the comments right now. Mike Duffy, DLZ. We're currently working in the final stages of the design drawings right now. I'm anticipating that we will be ready before the end of August with our final set.
So that'll be more germane to what things will look like at that point. So right now they're preliminary.
Right, and so we obviously with what we have in the packet, that's a general idea of where they're going with it, but we're waiting for the final engineering and, you know, as was said earlier, we talked about parking and setback and all that kind of stuff is
landscape standards and different, we've been going through the different items that we need to make sure that we have all buttoned up on the plans.
So for the public, we have a plan that's kind of been shown to us, but it's not been formally presented, so there could be some changes between tonight and the end of August.
right. And you know, this is still going to be a staff level. It's not going to come back to the planning commission.
Gotcha.
But the petitioner would, I'm sure, share with you the preliminary drawings that are available. And,
He's asking for.
oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
Frank Madura. Again, on the question of the increased storage and manipulated storage, was a study actually done, or is this just based on past experience from what was existing there before?
We'll let our engineer answer that question.
Yes, that's
Sure, I had a conversation with our sanitary district personnel today, primarily the plant superintendent, and the treatment plant capacity is rated at 48 million gallons per day, and the average flow rate of the treatment plant is right around 32 to 34 million gallons per day. So we're talking about a large volume. So the capacity needed for this on an average day flow is sufficient for the treatment plant.
if that be the case, then why have we had flooding in the past?
Well, flooding is a direct result of, you know, the rain, the precipitation. So you're
Right.
going to get some surface flooding and some basement backups that can occur. But Robertsdale is predominantly separated sewers, so most of that is
So this
stormwater.
will increase our probability of having flooding.
There could be some increased flows as a result of the new development, certainly, but the impact is going to be limited as a result of the development that makes this the grass area more pervious, so it'll accept more stormwater and doesn't have to come to our system. And that stormwater that can go to the storm sewer rather than the combined sewer system.
I hope it works, because if you've ever experienced it, sewer flooding is really pretty bad.
I have, sir, not in Hammond, but I've been through that before in my past.
I hope it works out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Dean, thank you for your expertise. Being no further questions, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. Second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for showing up tonight.